Hello again, this is UML Operator. All right, welcome back. This is part 7 of our multi-part series. In this session, we're going to be talking about team coordination. A lot of folks are working in the same Spark SQL database instance and coordinating amongst each other on who's working on what. We're going to use an audited checklist. I'll show you that. This gives the benefit of viewing audit log. So view audit log. So users can come into this element, which is on the home page, and see who's working on what, client, UML operator, state changes when they're started something and when they're done with something. All right. So we're going to talk about that. I'm going to introduce you to locking. So you can lock diagrams just by right-clicking it, lock diagram. I can do a full lock where no one can edit. So there's a red explanation mark that's going to show up. Let's find this in the browser. You can see this red explanation mark. I can't edit this and no one can edit this. You can click on things, read content that's potentially underneath it, but you cannot edit anything in this diagram, right? Except for the elements. You can go to the elements and you can edit those. You can still navigate to wherever you want to go, but this diagram is now locked. We'll talk more about that in a moment. You can lock entire packages. I'm on this package. I'm going to right click. I'm going to package control, lock package. I want it locked for everyone but me. I'm going to click OK, and it's going through. Everything is locked. Blue explanation mark, which means I have it locked. It will be a red explanation mark to everyone else. I am going to unlock this now. Package control, lock package. I'm going to no lock, general editing allowed. Right now it removed the explanation marks, blue on my side, red on everyone else's side. And now this is back to where the team can work on this package and its element and diagram. You're going to learn as a team modeler. If you're working on a diagram, you can come into the diagram. You can lock the diagram. So we have lock right here, lock diagram, lock it for everyone else but me. And now this diagram is locked. I can right click, find it in the browser. There you go, blue explanation mark, and it is locked. However, the elements, others can't move around because the diagram is locked. All right, and you're going to see that in a moment. You can lock elements. Let's say I'm working on requirement 6, find in diagram, Alt G, right click on it, lock. I want to lock it for everyone but me. And now this has a blue explanation mark next to it. All right. So now this is locked for everyone but me. Everyone else can work on the other elements in here. If the diagram is locked, of course, they can't move things around. You're going to see that. And we're going to get into locking. So if you don't understand these subjects before this session, hopefully you understand them in the end. So let's get started. Team coordination, here's a tip to help when you hit the main project landing page to help you coordinate with team members so that you're not stepping on each other or doing things like auto naming and numbering at the same time. We're going to go to Toolbox. We're going to go to Governance, expand that. And in here, you have checklists. And we can use an audited checklist. We can use just a regular checklist. It doesn't really matter too much. If we go into the audited checklist, you can start to add in items like working requirements, like this. So we can use checkboxes and hit close. You can do the same thing in this checklist, working requirements. And then you can put other activities that are taking place to let the team know that something is taking place at a particular moment. Either way. The difference between the audited checklist and the regular checklist is that the audited checklist, if we right click on it, gives us a view audit log. So if we select this, we can see the date and time, the user, and the state, the action that was taken. You can see that the checklist item was added, the date and time. It was changed to completed. In other words, it was checked. And then it was unchecked here at this date and time. So when you're coming in as a team member, you can right click on this. If it was checked, we're going to check it. We're going to view the audit log. We can see the UML operator is working on this particular checklist item. Now I'll let you pick which checklist you want to use. I'm going to use the audited checklist. Let me right click on this. Let's view audit log. So you can see here the UML operator has added some checklist items at this particular date and time. So if new checklists or other checklists are being added, you'd be able to see that in the audit log. So if I'm working requirements, I'm going to go ahead and check that. I'm going to go ahead and view the audit log. And now you can see that the state has changed by UML operator, date and time, working this particular item. Now, another benefit to using the audited checklist, especially from a project management perspective, is the project manager can come in, view the audit log, see what's going on, and then export to a flat file, the data, for reporting, other data analysis, and other purposes for delivery. Now, when other stakeholders log into the project, they hit the landing page, they can see someone is working requirements at this point. In this case, the client's logged in, the client wants to go in. They're going to right click on this, view the log, and they see that UML operator started at the date and time working requirements. Then the stakeholder, the client in this case, could come up here and chat, open up a chat session with UML operator and ask them what they're working on. Please let them know when they're done, those kind of things. But that would be in the communication plan. Then when UML operator, this is their session at this time, was done, they would uncheck that. You would be able to see in the view audit log that the state was changed for this particular item. And when the stakeholder is in their session, and either they reloaded the project, so you can come up here, reload the project, and then comes up, you can see that that is now unchecked, and they can come in and start an event or an activity. So now you see that the client has changed the state of working requirements. There's other ways to refresh. If they would have gone away from the package and then come back in, it was refresh the model. And there's other things that you can do to refresh, reload the diagram is probably what I would do at a particular time. So the client is done. I'm going to go back over to the other stakeholder session. And now I'm back over in the other user session. This would be UML operator in this case. You can see that I would see that this is being worked at this particular point. Right click inside the diagram and then reload the diagram. Yes. And you can see that the state has changed. I could come in, view the audit, and I could see that Claire changed the state back here at this date and time. And now I'm free to start working requirements again if that's what I've chosen to do. Now we're in a SQL or cloud SQL environment where multiple stakeholders can be doing things at the same time. We have a checklist here. It's an audited checklist, but you can see here that the team is currently working on requirements, solutioning, and design. And the team can right click on this, view the audit log, and they can see the UML operator is working on design, solutioning, and requirements starting at this date and time. Right? And the only time I would be using this is working requirements or anywhere I am doing auto naming and numbering, because when a team is coming in and they're working on auto naming and numbering, and I've shown you about requirements in here, they have set a prefix and a counter to what they're working on. And you don't want to change this if the team is working on, or a team member is working on requirements, because when they go to drop in another requirement and someone came in and revised the counter, or in this particular convention, the area that they're working on, it will mess their requirement naming up at that particular point as they're working. Now, if they're all working in the same area, this is very beneficial. You'd be able to see that a stakeholder was adding requirements for a particular area and another stakeholder in this different diagram, because this diagram would be locked if I'm working on it, or I could lock it, come up here, I could lock it, user lock, user may still edit. But when you're working at the same time in the same area, you want to make sure that you are maintaining consistency and other ACID rules. But we'll talk about that more in later sessions. This is just the benefit. Each team member has their own working set that they have when they came in. This is UML operator, which automatically loads these elements and brings me back to what I'm working on very quickly so that I can start continuing the exercise that I have started working towards. Here I have two Sparks sessions open at the same time. The one on top is UML operator, UMLO as the user, and the one here is the client named Claire. All right, so if I change something on the cover page, I'm just going to simply drag this and move it. You see this blue explanation mark? That means I have this locked. If I'm over in Claire or the client session, I can't move anything because I have this red explanation mark that it is locked from me. So I can't do anything. Now if I'm back over in the UMLO user and I save or stop making changes, the blue explanation mark goes away. In the client's session, you see that it's there, but it's now, I've made changes as a client, it becomes blue, right? So I'm going to take it back. If no one's making any changes, then the explanation mark won't show up, or the locking indicator will not show up. Now that was a simple example. Let's go to something a little more complex. So I'm in UMLO's session. UMLO is going to come in and open up their working set so they can get back to work. They have a particular requirement that's here that maybe have some garbage in it that they started to type, and they've made it a change and just posted to the database. Now I'm over in the client session, go back over here, and the client's going to come in. They're going to see, hey, someone's working requirements. I want to work requirements. Who's working requirements? They're going to hit the view log. Oh, UML operator is working requirement. Let's say the client wants to see what UMLO is working on. So they're going to open up this user's working set, and they'll be able to see all the models that they're currently working on, right? So they shouldn't make any changes here, but you notice the diagram is not locked. So UMLO is going to be in trouble. This user is going to be in trouble if someone starts to make changes in this diagram. So what I would do if I were UMLO and I was working on this and I did not want anybody else to be working on this diagram, I would right click on it, lock diagram, user lock, lock users may still edit, or full lock, no one may edit. So if I do a full lock in here, no one can edit, including myself. So I don't want to do that. If I go into lock diagram and choose this to user lock and then hit OK, I can make changes in this model. All right. So I am going to take it back to its original state. I have locked this, and now I'm over in the client session on the same diagram. They can't make any changes. It has a red explanation mark and it is locked, right? However, they can make content changes to the elements in the diagram. So very important thing to note. The best approach is just lock the element that you're working on. or elements. So I can come up on this requirement. I'm working on this requirement and I can lock the element. All right. So when I select this, this element now is locked, blue exclamation mark for me. And then if I come in, I can move the element still around. However, I cannot edit if I open up the dialog box. The submit or OK button is disabled. I, as a client user, cannot edit this content, but I can still work within the diagram. So we can work together here. And then as UMLO, when I'm done with this, I can right click on it, do this, and no locks, switch this back off. And now it's locked because Claire's making some changes so I can't move elements around. However, Claire, on the other hand, can come in now and see whatever other changes in here and then submit anything that she wishes to add to this particular element because it's been unlocked for her. So I can see here that I have locked the diagram as a user. And when I'm done, I can hit save. That blue exclamation mark goes away. And now the other user is able to make changes back to the diagram. They get the locking blue exclamation mark. I'm going to undo to take it back. And both users can start their edits in here, just can coordinate as long as both of them know what's going on. And that's why it's good to have chat. You can chat with users if you're working together. You can discuss in real time as you're working on various items and elements and so on. And then you can lock the diagram saying, hey, I don't want anybody to make changes to the diagram. So I can come in here and lock the diagram. I'm not going to do it. Or I can lock element or elements that I'm working on, right, as a particular user so that other users are able to do what's necessary for themselves. So let's say you're coming in to do your work and you brought up your working set and your diagrams and you notice that you've got a red exclamation mark at the diagram. So it is locked and I can't do anything in it. And I see a particular requirement has been locked and I can't do anything with this either. I mean, it's disabled. I can't even edit content inside this. But I'm working these requirements and I want to see who has these locked. Now, this is if I have permission to do this. So I go to settings and I see security. All of this is enabled for me as UML operator. It may be grayed out to other users, but locks may be exposed. And you've got a red lock here. And when I open this dialog box up, I see that Claire, the client, has this diagram locked and this particular requirement locked. Now UMLO, me, I have the project main page locked, all right? Now be very careful if you have these administrative rights, okay? Don't unlock things until you speak or try to speak with whoever the user is that has these locked, because you do not want to disturb their work or cause problems there. That's why you can use chat or other collaboration means to talk with a particular user to ask them, hey, are you done yet? If they're not logged in and they forgot to unlock these before they left, as long as you're sure of that, then what I would do as a user is I would come in and I would unlock what I wanted unlocked. And now when I hit close, these models are unlocked and I'm allowed to do work on these elements. Then when the user returns, in this case, Claire, the client, returns, loads her models, her working setup, she'll see the red explanation marks next to the items that she wants to work. And the same thing applies for her. She can chat with whoever has these locked to see who's got them locked. if she has the permissions, she'd go to settings. She'd be able to see, UMLO has these locked. Now, you notice she doesn't have administrative rights, so she can't unlock these, all right? But she is able to see what users have the diagrams or the elements that she's interested in working. They have these locked, and she can chat, email, call them up, whatever, to find out, hey, let me know when you're done, right? And then, of course, one way is just reload the model. When this person is done, let me go ahead and unlock these, lock diagrams, move them back to no lock. I got this element, blue exclamation mark, not locate, lock. There we go. Lock, all right? No lock, hit OK. And now when this user comes back over and they do a reload of the diagram and refresh, you can see the locks have been removed and they can lock what they need to work on and so on. So coordinate with your team members if you're working in the same space at the same time. All right, we're going to wrap up here. We covered a lot in this session. It took some time to get over performing tasks at the same time and dealing with model locking. We're just touching the surface. There's a lot more you can do. I'll cover that in other videos. In our next session, we're going to be talking about team modeling, team reporting, and the model library. So I look forward to seeing you there. And until then, happy modeling.